Hi everyone, welcome to Mindful Crafts and More. I'm Katrina. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. I hope you see something in one of my videos that inspires you and helps you to consider subscribing. If you are returning, thank you so much. Welcome back. I really appreciate you for hanging out with me for a bit. So this is part two of the getting started with the temperature make along for 2021. And in this part, what we're going to do is actually get started. So if you haven't already watched the first part, please go back and watch that one. And then the information presented here will make a little bit more sense to you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started and continue where we left off before. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you guys how to use the calendar table that was created using the Microsoft Word program. But again, if you have index cards and you have just listed them, that is just fine. Please do not worry about it at all, okay? This is just a method that I'm using to keep myself organized, and so I'm going to show you how I am using it. All right, so as we can see here, we have a table, and our table has the months in the first column, and then going across in the top row, we have the days of the month, all the way from 1 to 31. So, of course, if the month that we are working on does not have 31 days, we just stop where that month ends and then go to the next month, okay? All right, so what I did and what I'm going to do here in this video is I'm going to use the data from January of 2020 in my area. And that way I can give you a large enough piece so that you can see how this project is going to be made up and how to go about making yours. So first, what I'm going to do is look at my data that I had before. And I have a list of what the day's temperatures were a year ago. So on the first day of January last year, the high temperature was 54. And then on the second, it was 59. On the third, it was 60. On the fourth, it was 62. The fifth, it was 48. And then 57. And then 58. And then 54. And 43. And then 70. 74. 72. And then 69. And then 65. Okay, so that gives us 2 weeks worth of temperatures in my area in the year 2020. Now, I could have written the highs and the lows, but for this purpose, I'm only going to do the highs, okay? Now, what I want to do next is I want to grab my temperature intervals that I made up. And this also I showed in the previous video. So the yarns that I chose to work with are Red Heart Super Saver, and my temperature ranges I didn't assign anything to less than 20, but let's say for all intents and purposes, I will make it a white color if the temperature had gotten below 20, okay? So now all of my temperature intervals are here with the colors of the yarn here, and then I have a representative sample of the yarn here, okay? So now what I'm gonna do here then is I'm gonna say for the 1st of January, because my temperature was 54, I just look here and I find that the color that I chose for a temperature anywhere from 51 to 56, I chose bright yellow. So that would mean that my first row would be bright yellow, okay? And then the second one is 59. So then I would do light green. I'm sorry, bright yellow and then gold, okay? So I went the opposite way. So sorry about that, guys. I don't mean to confuse you. And then the next day on the 3rd, it was 60. So that next stripe would be also gold. And then on the 4th, also gold. Now, on the 5th, we see here that it went to 48. So the temperature went down quite a bit. So now that gives us a light green. So then I would choose this color here. Okay, so I'm starting with the bright yellow, and then I go to the gold, and gold again, and gold again, and then to the light green. Okay, so then here on the 6th of January last year, it was 57, and that puts me back to the gold color. And 58, also another gold. And then 54 gives me the bright yellow. And 43 takes me then to the green, which is this color. All right. And then 70 puts me here, which is the red color. Okay. 74, red. 72, red. 69, red. And 65, orange. Okay. And so those are the colors that I would assign. Now, to make it easy for you guys to see, what I did here is I typed it out so it would be easy to see the colors that were chosen, okay? So this is just written out so that I can see it, all right? But the other thing that you can do, if you recall, I told you guys that you might want to consider getting colored pencils. So what you could do is you could just use your colored pencils on this sheet here and just color a little bit in that box where you have the temperatures to make it easy for you to then go and choose your yarn so that you can crochet your row. Okay, so I hope that that makes sense to you guys on how we're organizing and determining the sequence of colors that are going to be in our project. All right, so now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a representation of this right here. All right, so I'm going to put this over to the side and put this over to the side because all the information that we have is on this here. Okay, so here's my piece. And as you see here, I have not woven in my ends yet. Okay, but hopefully you can see that we started out with the bright yellow. Okay, we started out with the bright yellow here, and then we went to the gold, and we had 3 rows of gold, and then we went to the light green, and then back to the gold for 2 rows, and then to the bright yellow, which is what we started with down here. We went back to that because the temperature went to that temperature range. And then we went to the green and then to the red for 3 rows and then to the orange. Okay, so this just happens to be the sequence that was chosen for my area and the way I set up my intervals. So your project may look different based on the yarn that you chose, based on the intervals, in addition to the weather changes that occur from day to day. Also, it'll change depending on whether you chose your temperature high or your temperature low for the day, or whether you chose an average, where you took the high and low temperature, added them together and divided by 2. So there are so many ways to do it, and it's really just kind of a fun way to help you with choosing your colors for your project. Okay, so now this is just an example. Now that I've shown you this example, now let's talk about stitches and stitches that you can consider using for your project. Okay, so the stitches that are used in this particular piece are the moss stitch, also known as the linen stitch, also known as the granite stitch. Okay, and so it's a very easy stitch, but it's a series of chains and single crochets, and it gives kind of a woven look to it, and really, really pretty to see the stitch definition to come out. Another thing that you can consider if you did not want to do that is just plain single crochet. So here's an example here of just plain single crochet. All right, and you can see the difference between the linen stitch here and the single crochet stitches here. Now, it's not the same number of stitches across, so please don't worry about that. I just kind of worked up a small swatch to show you so that you could see the difference between just the straight single crochet versus the linen stitch. Okay, but either way, I think you'll come up with a very beautiful piece, and just choose a short stitch pattern is what I would recommend. And the reason is because you really want the colors themselves to really shine in this project. And you're going to be doing 325 rows. So you really don't want very, very tall stitches, because then it would probably be too long for you in the end. Okay. Now, I can give you a brief description on how to do the single crochet and also how to do the linen stitch, but I thought I might just do that in a separate video. For this video purposes, I really just want to get you guys started. And so if you are interested in learning the linen stitch, no problem. I will put out a quick video on how to do it. Okay, so that's the two. If you're going to do a blanket or if you're going to do a scarf, then this is these two stitches are, I think, the recommended ones for your project. Okay, so now what other things did we talk about? We also talked about amigurumi. So now if you want to do an amigurumi project, then my recommendation to you would be to do single crochets. And I recommend single crochets because the amigurumi projects are stuffed, and you don't want your stuffing to show. And so you would go ahead and do it with a nice short and tighter stitch like a single crochet. You probably could do the linen stitch, but in doing the linen stitch, you would then have the openings and you would be able to see your stuffing. So I recommend for this to just go ahead and just do single crochet. But you see, amigurumi is definitely amenable to um, doing striped, type of patterns, and your sequence can go just like any of the other projects. Okay, so this is just an example of a beginning of a a temperature snake pattern. Now, I didn't leave you knitters out. And so this right here is an example. This is a needle holder so that your stitches don't fall off your needle, okay? And I made this with some leftover fabric that I had from a different project that I was working on. All right, but in any case, this is the beginning of a wonderful pattern that I just happened upon the other day. So this is the back part. And then what I'm going to do then is start to do a striping pattern. What I haven't decided yet is if I'm truly going to do a temperature project with this particular pattern, or if I'm just simply going to do a striped pattern and just do a stuffed animal. So I haven't decided yet, but this absolutely can be turned into a temperature project. And what you would do here is when you're ready to start doing your striping, you simply add on your new yarn and you do your striping. Now, what I do recommend is not to fasten off your yarn until the next day. And the reason for that is sometimes, as you saw in the samples that I just gave you, the temperature range is still within the same color that you have chosen. And so you would just knit or crochet another row or another round, and you wouldn't have to fasten it off. So I wouldn't be so fast to fasten it off each day. Just hold on to it until you see whether you're going to need that particular color for the next day. Okay, so this is an example of how you can start if you're doing a knit project. And the pattern for this is actually this pattern. So this is a sausage dog by the designer's name is Amanda Berry. And it is such a cute project. And I saw it and I thought, oh, wow, that is just so cute. So again, I had mentioned before about a temperature snake or some other type of amigurumi. And I just saw this and thought it is so cute. And so I may or may not turn it into a temperature project, but I definitely will make one of these, okay? And a crocheted sausage dog also is an option for you guys, okay? All right, so now what I'm going to show you is this is the linen stitch. And as you see in solid color, it gives a really beautiful woven kind of texture to the piece. And so even if you are doing it in a solid color, it is a very beautiful stitch. I really do like it. And it's easy, very, very easy to do. Okay. So hopefully this information that I provided to you is understandable and easy, and it helps you to get started with your project.